players that were all season, players like Onana, players like Rasmus Højlund have been mentioned in my comments. Rivals are plenty have spoken about how good and great they are. Suddenly, Amrabat, who we're heavily linked to next, from the World Cup until the end of the season, everybody said, oh, baller, I would love him. Please can my club get him? Now, suddenly, those three players are mid-levels and Man United have gone backwards. They've lied about how much money the manager spent. Even journalists are going, oh, he spent, 406 million now. No, he hasn't. He spent 360. You're adding 40-odd plus million pound onto his total spend, which isn't hugely significant, but it's almost a case of, why are you lying? And I know why. It's because you're shook, because you're thinking, God, not only are Man United getting the players the manager wants, we improved last year, we're signing good quality players, and we're actually, rather than overpaying for these players, which we've done so much of that in years gone by, so much of it. The summer will start with our saga and it will be Leicester want 80 million and taking no less. And we spend the whole summer arguing we're going to get him for less, and then we end up paying 85. The fact that we've gone and got these players cheaper is such a good sign that we're operating better. Now, I'm not a fan of the Glazers. I don't care about this good summer. I want them gone. I'm never changing my opinion on them as far as I'm aware, as far as I'm concerned. Even if we win a major trophy, I still want them to go. But I have to credit where credit's due. We've done really good business, and I think we will be closing that gap on City at the top. Still make them favourites over us. I believe we'll be anywhere between 10 to 15 points better off next year.
You'll be closer.
I'd love it if we could land Harry Kane as well, and I'm throwing him as an example, then I think we've genuinely got the ability to finish in front of City with someone like him. Without someone with him, I think we'll close the gap. City will have too much for us, but I think we can close that gap on Arsenal. I think nothing's a guarantee, but I think we've got a massive chance of qualifying back for the top four and doing well in the cup competitions. I'm very excited about what Man United do.
Do you know what I look at? I'll tell you what pees me off as a rival fan. I say rival. I don't know who we're rivaling anymore. Like we're down there rivaling Brentford, to be brutally honest with you at the moment. We're an absolute shambles of a football club. Sorry, I have to get my Spurs every now and then. I'm just dropping little. But what I rate about United's window is whether or not rival fans rate the players you're signing, right? Is that all the players you've signed so far have been your number one choice in that position. So as far as I'm aware, it was bang, Mason Mount, we want him, done. We want Onana as our goal kick, done. Yeah, Højlund was the strike, done, right? Next will be Amrabat, done. And that for me is how you run a football club efficiently. It doesn't always have to be what the fans want. It doesn't always have to be these amazing footballers, right? Or it doesn't always have to be the world's best. If the manager wants them for his system and for his philosophy and he gets his first choice, it's good and it's bad. And the good thing is he's got them. The bad thing, or not the bad thing, sorry, that's the wrong word. It puts pressure on. It's the pressure, because then you turn around and go, all right, Ten Hag, you've got your guys. You've got your first choice players, right? Not going to be like Postecoglou. Postecoglou wants Tapsoba. We'll end up getting Clement Longley, right? That sort of thing. You've got your first choice players. So then the pressure is, okay, we finished, what was you, third or fourth last year?
Third.
Okay, we finished third. Right, what's the plan this year? Is it a title challenge? Is it getting within 6 or 7 points of City? What does that look like? And that's where it puts pressure on him, but that's a good pressure to have, because as a manager, all you can ask for is that your owners have listened to you and made the deals you want happen.
Well, this is like I've said about Arsenal. I'm not a big fan, just like with Mount, I'm not a big fan of Kai Havertz. But to get him for 60 million, I think, yes, there's 5 million of add-ons that have gone on top of that. But I kind of say to Arsenal fans, I know I'm not a fan of Kai Havertz, but your manager's success rate when it comes to his main signings has been very good. So based on him typically getting it right, I'm not saying you should be jumping for joy at a few players that you're not buzzing for, but clearly your manager knows a little bit more than you do. So put a little bit of faith into it. Doesn't mean you can't have an opinion, but it doesn't mean you have to go over the top. And that's how I kind of feel about Man United's deals. But you are right. There is definitely pressure. But that pressure has to exist at Man United. By the end of this window, we will have given him about £400 million towards his squad. That doesn't mean I expect him to be the best team in England within, remember, we're only starting our second year. We're not actually 2 years in. We're 1 year in. I don't expect him to catch City right now, as an example, because they've had 7 or 8 years of working on their team and their system under Pep Guardiola, but I expect us to continue to improve.
Which is why I don't think anyone will catch them. Do you know what? Can I just say sorry? Because when the Arsenal fans call me salty, listen, I don't think it matters who buys what this summer, right? I don't, whether it's Liverpool, you, Arsenal, I don't think it matters who buys what. Man City have built this over time. Man City have built this squad and this philosophy and this winning mentality over, as you said, 6-7 years now. That, for me, is priceless. You can't do that over a summer. You can't. That takes time to implement that. And listen, I think you'll be right up there. And as I said, I think between you, Arsenal, and Liverpool, it's going to be really, really interesting to see that unfold. I think Chelsea will be the next what I do. I do think Chelsea will be fifth, if I'm brutally honest. I think Chelsea will be there. I think Villa will be a very good team. I think they're making some.
They could be.
Again, first choice. Again, look at Unai Emery since he's been there. He wanted Moreno, the left back. Is it Moreno? It is Moreno, isn't it? Got him. Pau Torres, he wanted him. Done. Moussa Diaby, done. Wrapped up in 7 days. Again, good manager, winning manager. So I think it's going to be interesting. I do think Man United, if they get this right, could finish second. But Arsenal will feel the same. Liverpool will feel the same. And it's all about luck as well. Keeping your players fit. If Onana suddenly tore his ACL on the first game of the season and Højlund...
It changes everything.
Right.
And that leads into this super chat. It says, so now Ten Hag's got his players. Well, first of all, I'll stop you. He hasn't completely got all these players. There will still be individuals at the club that he didn't sign or he hasn't given renewals to. So it's still going to be at least one more summer for him, in my opinion, to clear out every player that he doesn't want and to have a complete squad that he has built. So that's what I would say. If you finish fourth with less points, would you sack him? There isn't a simple answer of yes or no. There just isn't, Dawson, because if we finish fourth with one less point, but we win the Champions League, would I sack him? No. So you have to, if he finishes fourth, 10 points less, goes out early in all the cup competitions and we play awful and we haven't progressed and there's no real reason, like we've had no major injuries, then my answer could be yes. My answer could be yes. But you have to contextualize it for me. I need to know what else has happened. There is no simple answer to that. Maybe all of the top teams get less this season because everybody beats each other more and everybody improves. You have to contextualize these things, and it's very difficult to look at. But I'm excited about what Man United are doing, and I know rivals don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. I think we're moving in the right direction. I've still got reservations over how long we can keep the growth up with the Glazers as our owners. And people will say, but they're spending. It's never been about their spending. It's been about their continuation to spend. It's been about them not pulling the rug from underneath the managers. We've seen him go 2 summers on the bounce, giving Jose what he wanted. He got to the 3rd summer where we needed just that little bit more to go to the next level, and they said no. And this is what my owners have done. We could have a great season this year, win an FA Cup, get to the Champions League quarters, come second, 5 points off top, and then the manager says, right, we could do with adding an Osherman, or we could do with adding what? And they go, no, you got your striker last year. That's you done. It's going to be substandard players. So we have to, again, I'm remaining level-headed, but I am going to speak my truth, which is, or my beliefs, that I think Man United will improve this year. Whether we come second or not, I don't know. I think it depends how well Højlund hits the ground, because we need more goals. But I think Amrabat is going to be a massively important deal for us. To have him in the middle, and a lot of people look at him as just, he's like a Casemiro. He's not. He's very different from Casemiro. Passes the ball better, progresses the ball better. Them two as a pivot will be a very hard team to break down, a very hard team to penetrate.
I would not want to play in midfield against those two. If I'm brutally honest, I wouldn't want to play against them too. I think that the key thing here is what, like, everyone is always trying to get everyone sacked. Like, whenever I read football fans' comments, it's like, do you sack them if this happens? Sack. It's like, listen, if you look down the Premier League history, throughout the Premier League era, other than Chelsea, who are the anomaly because they changed managers so often, all of the teams that have had sustained success have been the teams that had their manager for a lengthy period of time. You've got Alex Ferguson at Man United, right? You've got Jose Mourinho, right, at Chelsea when he came in. You've got Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, Pep Guardiola now at Man City. As I said, other than Chelsea, who are the, they were just, theirs was purely just world-class players after world-class manager.
Bro, and if you look at Chelsea, sorry to interject, look at
go on.
Chelsea. From when all the other teams started getting more money, so from the new TV deal money of 2014, look at the regression in their Premier League titles and challenging for them. As soon as everybody else caught them financially and they couldn't just spend more than everybody else, the model of changing managers regularly has led to a point now where they haven't even challenged for a Premier League title in 7 years, the best part of a decade. They had that Champions League win, but most Chelsea fans that ever come on the terrace, good people, will all say that Champions League was amazing. We loved it, but it papered over huge cracks at the club. Yeah. And the recycling of managers, when everybody else can spend similar amounts to you, doesn't work. You need a long-standing, I know people hate the word now because it's overused, but you need that long-standing club philosophy with a coach building it, and then you need to pick the right person. Look what you guys did. If you guys would have bought someone that was a better version of a Poch to take over when he got sacked, you wouldn't be here now. The fact you went for a completely opposite manager in Jose, then to a Nuno, Conte, and now you're going back to a more progressive manager, it's crazy. So it's really,
the problem with all of this is football fans want everything right now, right? So you've got so many clubs now that feel entitled that they should be winning trophies, and there's only limited number of trophies every year. The problem is, if you keep sacking managers every year, 18 months, 2 years, the whole philosophy of the football club changes unless you are run well, unless you are run very well, and the next manager you drop in is like for like, right? This is the problem. It's not just the first 11. It's the squad. It's the youth team. It's the scouts, the recruitment directors, the director of football. If you keep all of that, in tow for 4, 5, 6 years, everyone's on the same page, right? Yeah. And that's where, if you look, all of these things come to an end. Of course they do. Like Arsenal under Wenger were brilliant. It was horrible being a Spurs fan watching Arsenal dominate. But then when it comes to an end, then you have to go again and evolve. That's what United did by bringing in Ten Hag. But any fan now is like, oh my God, if he has a bad year, get him out. Jesus Christ. Can we give some managers more than a year to 2 years? Like,
yeah, I think, mate, I think you're absolutely spot on. This here says, Terry, why are you saying Højlund is a talent? You didn't know who he was. What was facts? Now you're coming like you have football knowledge on this player. So I'll tell you how it works, Donny. When I was born in 1985, when I was about 6 or 7, so in the early 90s, my dad was listening to an album by a singer called Stevie Wonder, who had brought out about 15 albums before I was even born and had been famous since 50s, 60s, whatever it may be. In my lifetime, I've listened to his albums, I've read about him, I've researched him, and I now know that he is a great artist. The fact that I didn't know him once upon a time doesn't change the fact that he's a brilliant artist. So the fact that a year and a half ago, I didn't know who Rasmus Højlund was, but since then I've watched him play, I've researched him, I've read about him in terms of professional in-depth scouting reports, watched countless footage of him on Y-Scout, which is not a compilation videos, if you look at all the elements of his game, gives me, in my opinion, the ability as a football fan to say, I think there's a real talent in there. And that is all I've said, is there's a real talent in there. So you don't need to know who somebody is today for you to rate them and think they're brilliant at acting, singing, playing football in a month, in 3 months, in a year's time, because it's about when you discover somebody. End of the day, I remember saying that I thought Haaland was great 3 or 4 years ago, and I was laughed at. Everyone said to me that he was the Scandinavian Lukaku, and he was awful, and he was never going to make it. Look how that is now. We get some predictions right, we get some predictions wrong, but it's called research, and I'm very sure that this kid's a talented player. So yeah, you don't need to know someone today to rate them in 3 months' time in any capacity, my friend. So yeah, it's a little bit of I get what you're saying. You're saying that I can't like him because a year ago I wasn't too sure who he was, but by that logic, we can never rate any footballer. Because at some point you discover a footballer for the first time, and based on your logic, you can never rate them, because think about what you're saying. You can't rate a footballer that you didn't know before you knew them. Deep that. Think about your logic, bro.
Yeah. Listen, as I've said a lot. The more I've done YouTube, it's critical thinking from people. critical thinking has gone out of the game of football now. Everyone's like, sack him, sack them. This kid's rubbish. Like you saw it there with this new centre-half Chelsea are signing. Straight away, people, he's rubbish. It's like, I mean, that's not a sentence. He's not rubbish, is he? If you play centre-half for Monaco and Chelsea are buying you, you're not rubbish. You know, try putting in something that means something like, listen, I've watched him. He's good at this, but lacks here. But he's rubbish. Oh, he's shook. He's this. It's like, these aren't descriptions. These are just feelings, emotions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is the point. People say you've got to have watched him. Like I said, I have watched him. I've watched games where he has played. I have done that.
He's a good player. Højlund's a good player. Yeah. Is he this? Look, unfortunately now, Terry, and I was having this chat with Rance earlier on in the week, and we said, unfortunately now, when you're buying centre forwards, especially centre forwards, there's not, as we said before, there's not many 30 goal a season men like there used to be. So now, unfortunately, 60, 70 million is for the potential that they're going to have. Because who are you going and buying for 60 or 70 million? That guarantees you 30 goals. Can anyone name me a striker out there right now you can buy for £70 million that has a track record year in, year out for banging in 30, 25 goals a season?
Do you know what's crazy about this? This is what's crazy about it.
They won't be able to name it, by the way.
No, they won't be able to. This is the thing as well. People say, but Højlund was only like 50, 60 million. Højlund had a buyout clause, okay, which made him far cheaper than his actual value. If there was no buyout clause with Dortmund, he would have been a 200+ million pound player. So I agree that Haaland's better than him. I absolutely agree.
I love the people putting in Harry Kane in the chat. You ain't getting Harry Kane for 70 million, my friends. We've just turned that down. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's not happening. You look at Victor Osimhen. They're talking 150s plus for him. And that's the starting position. You know, you're talking double the price. And this is the thing. There are no young strikers with the talent this kid's got that you're picking up. And by the way, we're paying 64 million for him. That's the price. The rest of it is add-ons that we only pay if we win major trophies. And I can guarantee every viewer this.
There you go. And Victor Osimhen has only ever hit over 20 league goals once in his career. Right? That's what you're talking about. 140 million is the price tag for a bloke that's had one top season.
And bro, this is why we have to sign him now. 64 million pounds is a lot of money. But I'll tell you why we have to do it now. Because in my opinion, next season in Serie A, he will score that 20+ goals and then he'll cost you 140, 150. The price will double. And then you're in a situation where then Man United would be laughed at and everyone would go, you should have paid 64 million for him when you had the chance. There are times when you just got to act. And Man United haven't sat on our hands here. We messed up with Caicedo. Should have got him for £4 million 18 months ago. No, we weren't too sure. Didn't want to waste the money. Glazer didn't want to give it to us. They weren't listening to our then manager. And if we want him now, he's going to cost over 90 or to £100 million. Same difference here. Yes, your base is a lot higher because he's already started to deliver goals in one of the top leagues in the world. But it's the right thing to do, in my opinion. And he's very, very talented. And again, if anybody else's club was signing them, you'd be buzzing about it.